Hi, my name is Wolf Mayo, and I'll be presenting today on how data can be stored in our DNA in ATGC sequences. So, as we know, we live in a more and more technology reliant world, and as we continue in this path, we accumulate more and more data. In the past decade, we've accumulated more data than we've had 2 centuries ago. We first started by in the 1800s, late 1800s, we started to collect data through punch cards. And then in the 1950s, we moved on to magnetic tapes. And then if we kind of skip a couple years, we had cassette tapes. And after that, we had CDs. Following that, we had DVDs, SD cards, and now we have the magic cloud. But however, the magic cloud is not magic, as I said. The cloud is simply a big room with a bunch of computers, and that has a lot of memory cards in them that store all of our data. And these datas only last if about 10 to 15 years, if well maintained. Unfortunately, our data is very crucial for our survival, or also for our future applicants or our future humans that will want to know more about us. But what is kind of difficult is what data should we store for the future generations? Well, it should be a little bit of everything. We know that we have time capsules that are open every 50 years or so. We have other events where we store daily objects that will be in a place and we will be reopened later on. But a lot of things tend to degrade over time, and our data is very important. With our data, we can show what our current crises are, what are we dealing with, what are the main issues worldwide, not only in a certain area or in a certain location, but worldwide. And especially in today's day and age where we are all interconnected with one another. Furthermore, with all the data that we have acquired, that have accumulated over the last century or so, ever since the invention of the computer, we've had data being stored in, like I said earlier, magnetic films, or again, cassette tapes. But today, who has a cassette tape recorder in the house? Not a lot of people. Or even if I bring back the punch card. Before doing the presentation, I did not know what a punch card even was. So just to say that our methods of reading the data that we've recorded change very fast and a lot over time. So what's one way to remedy this issue? It's us. It's in our body. It's what life is, we could say, in a sense or another. It's what makes us human. You may ask, or you may not, because the title already give it away. Our data are stored in our DNA, in our ATGC sequences. And by having all those data already being stored in our DNA, the data dictates if we're gonna be male, female, if we're gonna be from a certain shade of skin tone, and all of this data is passed on from generation to generation to generation through generation, and so on and so forth. So there is no need to look for a bigger computer or yes, it'll be a great to have a quantum computer or a quantum storage system that will figure out how to store all these data in a better, more efficient way. But we already have DNA, and we already know how to decode DNA sequences and how to read those informations. Based on the TED Talk, how we can store digital data, spoken by Dina Zielinski, she claims that all of the movies that have been made till this day can be stored in a glass this small if we use DNA codes. And DNA encoding is not a new thing. It's been around for a couple of decades now. We haven't refined it yet, but as I'm presenting right now, it seems to be the future of data storage. One way that these data have been stored over time has been they experimented where they took the first movie ever made and also followed with many other daily life things that we use, like music, the American anthem, and many other data that can be stored in ones and zeros. And they took those ones and zeros and they translated them into ATGC sequences. And by doing so, they put it in a little smudge on a piece of paper, and then they sent it back to them, and then they were able to decode all these information and put the code in, basically deconstruct the code that they sent and able to reread it to all. And with that, we were able to have we're able to decode what was sent. And also, it wasn't just one time of the first movie. It was replicated over 150,000 times, if I'm not mistaken. So with this information, we see that data storage is a very difficult thing that we deal with nowadays, especially iPhone owners. You know, when you don't get the extra $10 a month with the plan to get the 2 terabytes, your phone, over in less than a year of being purchased, you run out of data. So if we can imagine a world where all of our data can be, and it is also said that all of the world's data can fit inside of a cup this big, all of the world's data. So by having this amazing way to store data, we should strive to a world, or in a moment in time, where data will be easily accessed, where we won't have to, it will be accessible to all to access data that has from centuries ago, millenniums ago, and hopefully this future is soon. Thank you.